The rule of value creation over money chasing. When I look back at my journey of wealth, one of the biggest lessons I learned, the one that truly flipped the way I saw money, was this: stop chasing money and start creating value. Now, this might sound like one of those motivational quotes you read on Instagram, but I want you to understand it on a much deeper level. Because if you don't grasp this, you'll spend your entire life running after money, only to realize it keeps slipping away from you. Here's the harsh truth: money is not the real goal. Money is a byproduct. It's the reward the world gives you when you solve problems for people. That's it. Every single dollar you've ever made in your life came because you solved someone's problem. Think about it. Your salary, you solved your company's problems. Uber drivers, they solve the problem of transportation. Netflix, it solves the problem of boredom and entertainment. Amazon, it solves the problem of convenience and fast delivery. Everywhere you look, money flows toward people and companies that solve problems. But here's where most of us go wrong. Instead of focusing on solving problems, we spend our energy asking, how do I make more money? How do I get rich faster? How can I hit 6 figures this year? And what happens when you chase money directly? You get desperate. You cut corners. You jump from one shiny opportunity to the next, and you end up frustrated when the money doesn't come. That was me in the beginning. I was running after every trend, every side hustle, every quick fix. And the more I chased money, the more it seemed to run away from me. It wasn't until I made the shift, until I started asking myself, whose problem can I solve today? What value can I create? That things began to change. And let me tell you, when you focus on value, something magical happens. You stop being desperate. People can sense desperation from a mile away, and they avoid it. But when you show up with genuine value, when your goal is to help, to create, to solve, people are naturally drawn to you. They want to work with you. They want to pay you. Because deep down, everyone is searching for solutions to their problems. Take Apple as an example. Steve Jobs didn't say, let's make billions of dollars. He said, let's build the most user-friendly technology in the world. Money was the side effect. Elon Musk doesn't wake up thinking, how do I get richer today? He wakes up asking, how do I solve the world's biggest problems in energy and transportation? And guess what money chases him? So, let's bring this down to your level. Maybe you're not building the next iPhone or Tesla. Maybe you're starting from zero. But the principle is exactly the same. Let's say you're using AI to make money. Don't just say, I want to make $1,000 this month. Instead, ask, who needs help? What problem do they face that AI can solve? For example, small business owners struggle with marketing. They don't have time to write blogs, social media posts, or emails. You can use AI to solve that for them. Boom, you've created value. Or maybe students struggle to organize their studies. You can use AI to create planners, study guides, or note summaries. That's value creation. Here's the key. The money will come when the value is real. Focus on creating products, services, or content that actually helps people. Focus on being so useful that people can't ignore you. That's when income starts to flow naturally. So, my challenge to you is this. For the next 7 days, don't think about money. Forget the numbers. Instead, think only about problems. Write down as many problems as you can see around you. Ask yourself, how can I solve this in a way that makes life easier for someone else? And if you can do that consistently, trust me, the money will chase you. That's the first rule that made me rich. Not by running after dollars, but by running after value. Because money is not something you grab. Money is something you attract by the level of problems you solve. The rule of compound growth: when people ask me, what's the secret to building long-term wealth? I don't tell them about flashy investments, lottery wins, or overnight success. I tell them about something so simple that most people ignore it. It's called compound growth, and it's one of the most powerful forces in the universe. Now, when you hear compound growth, you probably think about money compounding in a bank account. And yes, that's part of it. If you invest $1,000 today at 10% annual growth in 10 years, it's not $2,000. It's more than $2,500. In 20 years, it's nearly $7,000. In 40 years, it's over $45,000, all from the same $1,000. That's the magic of compounding. But here's what most people miss. Compounding doesn't just apply to money. It applies to every area of your life. It applies to your habits, your skills, your relationships, and your decisions. The tiny actions you take today, positive or negative, multiply over time in ways you can't even imagine. Let me give you an example. Imagine you spend just 30 minutes a day learning something new about AI. That's 5 hours a week. In a year, that's over 180 hours of focused learning. In 2 years, you're at 360 hours. That's the equivalent of almost 9 full-time work weeks spent mastering a skill. And guess what? That's enough to put you in the top 5% of people in that field. The same is true with fitness. If you walk just 1 mile a day, that doesn't feel like much. But in a year, you've walked 365 miles. In 10 years, that's 650 miles, the distance across an entire continent. Tiny steps, massive impact. The problem is, most people overestimate what they can do in a month, and they underestimate what they can do in a decade. They want quick wins, instant results, and overnight success. And when it doesn't happen, they quit. But wealth doesn't work that way. Success doesn't work that way. Growth comes from consistency over time. I remember when I started investing, my returns were tiny. Some months, it felt like nothing was happening. But I stayed consistent. I kept learning. I kept applying. And then one day, I looked at my numbers and thought, wow, when did this get so big? That's compounding. It's invisible at first, and then it feels unstoppable. This rule applies especially if you're starting from zero. Don't try to build everything at once. Focus on small, consistent habits that stack over time. Create content regularly. Learn AI tools daily. Save and invest, even if it's just a few dollars. The actions seem small, almost meaningless in the moment. But given enough time, they snowball into something massive. Here's the harsh reality. The people who ignore compounding are the ones who wake up at 50 or 60 saying, "Where did all my time go? Why don't I have anything to show for it?" They never planted the seeds, so they never reaped the harvest. The best time to start compounding was yesterday. The second best time is today. If you start now, whether it's saving, learning, creating, or investing, the results will shock you a decade from now. So here's my challenge to you. Stop chasing overnight success. Stop getting distracted by quick wins. Instead, ask yourself, what's one small thing I can do every day that, if compounded, will completely change my life in 5 to 10 years? Do that one thing. Stay consistent. Trust the process, because the truth is, compounding doesn't care if you believe in it or not. It's always working, either for you or against you. If your daily actions are negative, compounding will amplify your failures. But if your daily actions are positive, compounding will build you an empire. That's the second rule that made me rich. I stopped chasing instant results, and I started trusting the power of compound growth. And once compounding kicked in, my life and wealth grew in ways I couldn't have imagined. Rule of leverage: if there's one rule that separates the wealthy from everyone else, it's this: the rule of leverage. Without leverage, you're stuck trading time for money. With leverage, your income, your impact, and your freedom multiply beyond imagination. So, what is leverage? Simply put, leverage means doing more with less. It's about using tools, people, systems, or capital so that your efforts go further than what you could ever do alone. The rich don't get rich because they work harder. They get rich because they use leverage better than anyone else. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine you're a freelancer writing articles. Without leverage, you can only write so many words per day before you burn out. Your income is capped by your time. But with AI tools like ChatGPT, you can research faster, draft quicker, and serve multiple clients at once. That's leverage. Now think bigger. A YouTuber creates one video. That single video can reach 0 people or 1 million people. The effort is the same, but the impact is different. Why? Because digital platforms provide leverage. Leverage comes in many forms, but I want to break it down into 4 main categories. 1. Leverage of tools and technology. This is the AI revolution we're living through. One person with the right AI tools can now do the work of an entire team: copywriting, video editing, coding, customer support. You name it. Technology allows you to multiply your productivity and output without multiplying your effort. 2. Leverage of capital. This is where your money works for you. Investing in businesses, stocks, real estate, or startups allows your capital to generate returns even while you sleep. The wealthy don't just earn, they reinvest, and their money compounds through leverage. 3. Leverage of people. Building a team, outsourcing, or hiring freelancers is another form of leverage. You can't do everything yourself. The wealthiest people in the world don't have more hours in the day. They have more people working with them. They multiply their time by delegating tasks. 4. Leverage of media and content. This is one of the most powerful, underrated forms of leverage today. A single post, podcast, or video can influence thousands, even millions of people around the world. You don't need permission. You don't need a massive budget. All you need is consistency and a message worth sharing. Now here's the truth most people ignore. Without leverage, you will always stay stuck in the cycle of working harder, but never truly building wealth. Hard work is important, but hard work alone is not enough. If hard work alone created wealth, construction workers and nurses would be billionaires. The reality is, hard work combined with leverage is what creates exponential results. I learned this the hard way. In the beginning, I tried to do everything by myself. I thought if I worked harder than everyone else, I'd win. But I was exhausted, and my growth was limited. It wasn't until I started leveraging, using tools, building systems, and delegating, that things exploded. Suddenly, I wasn't just trading time for money. I was creating assets that worked for me 24/7. This is the key. Leverage creates freedom. When you leverage properly, you don't just earn more, you buy back your time. You stop being a slave to the clock. You stop living paycheck to paycheck, and you start building a life where money, opportunities, and growth keep compounding, even when you're not actively working. So, my challenge to you is this. Ask yourself today, where am I missing leverage in my life? Are you still doing tasks manually that AI could automate? Are you holding onto money instead of letting it work for you? Are you trying to do everything yourself instead of building a team? Are you consuming content instead of creating it? Because here's the truth. The wealthiest people in the world aren't necessarily the smartest or the hardest working. They're the ones who use leverage better than anyone else. That's the third rule that made me rich. Once I discovered the power of leverage, I realized I didn't need to work harder. I just needed to work smarter, with the right tools, the right people, and the right systems. The rule of money as a tool, not a goal. Let me share with you a truth I wish someone had told me earlier in life. Money is a tool, not a goal. See, for most of us, when we start our journey, money looks like the destination. We think, if I just hit 6 figures, I'll be happy. If I become a millionaire, my problems will disappear. But let me tell you from personal experience, chasing money as the ultimate goal is one of the fastest ways to feel empty, even when you succeed. Because here's what happens. When money is your only goal, no number is ever enough. You hit 6 figures, and you want 7. You hit 7, and you want 8. It's a never-ending race. You're always comparing yourself to someone richer, always chasing the next milestone. And instead of money giving you peace, it actually steals your peace. That's why the rich who view money only as a scoreboard often end up unfulfilled, despite all their wealth. They have the cars, the houses, the lifestyle, and yet, deep inside, they're restless. Why? Because money by itself doesn't create meaning. But when you shift your perspective, when you start to see money as a tool instead of a goal, everything changes. Money becomes a servant, not a master. It becomes something you use to build freedom, to create opportunities, to impact others, and to design the life you want. Think of money like a hammer. A hammer is a tool. It can build a house, or it can destroy one. The hammer itself doesn't have meaning. It's about how you use it. The same is true with money. You can use it to buy things you don't need, to impress people you don't care about. Or you can use it to buy freedom, to invest in yourself, to create impact, to build something that lasts. For me, the big shift came when I realized I didn't actually want money. I wanted what money could do. I wanted freedom of time. I wanted to take care of my family. I wanted to work on projects I loved without worrying about survival. I wanted to give back. That's when I stopped obsessing over money as the prize, and I started using money as the tool to unlock those things. Let's take an example. Suppose you want freedom. Money is not the freedom itself, but it can be the tool that buys you that freedom through investments, passive income, or owning assets that pay you. Suppose you want impact. Money can fund charities, startups, or projects that change lives. Suppose you want growth. Money can buy you education, mentors, and experiences that expand your potential. But if money is just a number you chase, you'll end up stuck in a cycle of endless pursuit with no fulfillment. You'll become a slave to the very thing you thought would set you free. So here's the practical takeaway. Don't ask, how much money do I want? Ask instead, what do I want money for? What life do I want to build? What problems do I want to solve? What freedom do I want to create? And here's the paradox, you actually end up making more money when you treat it as a tool instead of a goal. Because now, your decisions are guided by purpose, not desperation. People are drawn to those who operate from purpose. Opportunities flow toward them, and the money comes naturally as a result. The moment I stopped worshiping money and started using it as a tool, I felt free. I was no longer stressed about every dollar. I started making decisions that aligned with my values, not just my bank account. And, ironically, that's when the money started flowing faster than ever. So remember this, money itself is neutral. It's neither good nor bad. It's simply a tool, and like any tool, Its value depends entirely on the hands that hold it. Use it well, and it will build you a life of freedom and meaning. Use it poorly, and it will trap you in a cycle of emptiness. That's the fourth rule that made me rich, not just in finances, but in life. I stopped treating money as the end game, and I started treating it as the vehicle to something bigger. The rule of systems over hustle. For years, we've been told, hustle harder, work longer, grind 24/7, sleep when you're dead. And while hustle might get you started, let me tell you a hard truth: hustle alone will never make you rich. What makes you rich, what gives you freedom, is not hustle. It's systems. Here's why. Hustle depends on you. It requires your energy, your time, and your constant effort. But no matter how much you hustle, you still only have 24 hours in a day. You can't scale hustle. Eventually, you burn out. Systems, on the other hand, don't burn out. They work while you sleep. They multiply your effort. They create consistency and reliability. A system is simply a process that works on its own, without needing your constant attention. Think about McDonald's. McDonald's didn't become a billion-dollar empire because the founders worked harder than anyone else. They built a system, a repeatable, scalable process that allowed them to deliver the same product anywhere in the world. That system runs whether the owner is present or not. Now compare that with a small restaurant owner who hustles 16 hours a day, cooking, cleaning, serving customers. Who makes more money? Who has more freedom? The one with systems, not the one with hustle. When I first started my entrepreneurial journey, I thought hustle was the answer. I worked crazy hours. I did everything myself: marketing, sales, delivery, customer service. And yes, I made progress. But I was exhausted. I couldn't grow because every step depended on me. It wasn't until I shifted to building systems that everything changed. I started automating repetitive tasks. I created processes for how things were done. I delegated work to people and trusted the system, not just my effort. Suddenly, my business started growing without me having to micromanage every detail. This is the rule you need to understand. Rich people build systems, poor people rely on hustle. Hustle is short-term, systems are long-term. Hustle gives you income, systems give you freedom. So, how do you start building systems in your own life? 1. Automate. Look at your daily tasks. What can be automated with tools and technology? Email responses, content scheduling, financial tracking. All of these can be handled by AI or software. Every time you automate, you buy back your time. 2. Document. Write down how you do things. If you're running a business, create a step-by-step guide for each process. This allows anyone else to step in and do the job without needing you. Documentation turns chaos into clarity. 3. Delegate. You don't need to do everything yourself. Hire freelancers, build a team, outsource tasks that don't need your personal touch. Delegation is not about being lazy. It's about focusing on what matters most. 4. Repeatability. A system is only good if it can be repeated. Test it, refine it, make sure it works consistently. If your results depend on luck or your mood, it's not a system yet. Think about your financial life. Saving once isn't a system, but automating your savings every month, that's a system. Creating a budget you stick to every week, that's a system. Over time, systems compound and create wealth automatically. The beautiful thing about systems is they give you freedom. When you rely on hustle, you're trapped. If you stop hustling, your income stops. But with systems, your income keeps flowing even when you take a break. That's why business owners, investors, and creators who understand systems are able to travel, rest, and still make money. Let me be real with you, hustle might get you to your first $10, maybe even your first $100, But to reach real wealth, to build a life where you're free, you must graduate from hustle to systems. So here's my challenge. Today, identify one area of your life or business where you're hustling too much. Ask yourself, how can I turn this into a system? How can I automate, document, or delegate this? Take one small step toward building a system. Because at the end of the day, hustle is temporary fuel, but systems are engines. Hustle burns out, but systems run forever. That's the fifth rule that made me rich. I stopped worshiping hustle and started building systems. And once the systems took over, I didn't just earn more money, I earned back my life. The rule of inner wealth over outer wealth, I want to end with what I believe is the most important rule of all. The rule of inner wealth over outer wealth. Because here's the truth. You can have all the money in the world, but if you're bankrupt inside, you'll never feel truly rich. Outer wealth is easy to measure. It's your bank account, your assets, your cars, your house, your status. The world loves to celebrate outer wealth. That's why social media is filled with luxury lifestyles, expensive vacations, and shiny possessions. But here's what most people don't see. A lot of those same people are miserable inside. They're anxious, restless, or even depressed. Inner wealth, on the other hand, is harder to measure. It's peace of mind, it's health, it's strong relationships. It's waking up in the morning feeling grateful, fulfilled, and free. Inner wealth is when you don't need to prove anything to anyone. You're rich not because of what you own, but because of who you are. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying money doesn't matter. It does. Outer wealth can give you options, opportunities, and freedom. But money without inner wealth is like pouring water into a leaking bucket. No matter how much you pour, it never feels full. I've met people worth millions who were constantly stressed. They couldn't sleep at night. They were suspicious of everyone around them. They had the money, but they didn't have peace. And I've also met people with very little money who radiated happiness, love, and purpose. They had inner wealth, and that made them richer than many millionaires. So, how do you build inner wealth? 1. Invest in your health. No amount of money can replace your health. Exercise, eat well, rest. Wealth without health is meaningless. 2. Cultivate gratitude. Gratitude turns what you have into enough. When you focus on what's missing, you'll always feel poor. When you focus on what you already have, you'll feel abundant. 3. Build relationships. True wealth is the people you can count on. Family, friends, mentors, community. These are priceless. At the end of life, nobody says, "I wish I made more money." They say, "I wish I spent more time with the people I love." 4. Pursue growth and purpose. Inner wealth comes from knowing you're growing and contributing. Learn, create, give back. Don't just chase success, chase significance. 5. Protect your peace. Don't sell your peace of mind for money. Set boundaries. Say no when you need to. Remember, if it costs you your peace, it's too expensive. When I first started chasing wealth, I thought money would solve everything. And yes, it solved some problems, but it didn't solve the deeper ones, the ones inside. It wasn't until I started investing in inner wealth that I finally felt truly rich. I worked on my mindset, my health, my relationships, my purpose, and what I realized is this: outer wealth grows so much faster when your inner wealth is strong. Because when you're at peace, you make better decisions. When you're healthy, you have more energy. When you're grateful, opportunities seem to multiply. Inner wealth doesn't just make life better. It also attracts outer wealth. So, let me leave you with this. Never sacrifice inner wealth for outer wealth. Don't trade your health for money. Don't trade your peace for status. Don't trade your relationships for success. Because at the end of the day, true wealth is not about what's in your pocket, but what's in your heart, your mind, and your soul. That's the sixth rule that made me rich, not in dollars alone, but in life. I learned to prioritize inner wealth over outer wealth. And when I did, I realized I had gained something that no market crash, no failure, no setback could ever take away. So yes, build your bank account, grow your business, invest in assets, but never forget, your greatest asset is you. Build your inner wealth first, and the outer wealth will follow. We've now gone through 6 powerful rules that completely reshaped the way I think about money, success, and life itself. And if there's one message I want you to take away from this entire journey, it's this. Wealth is not just about numbers, it's about wisdom. Think about what we've covered. We started with the rule of value creation. Money is not something you chase. It's something that comes as a byproduct of solving problems. The world rewards problem solvers, not money chasers. That's why if you want to build real wealth, your first focus must always be, how do I create value? Then we moved to the rule of compound growth. Success doesn't come from one massive action. It comes from small, consistent actions that multiply over time. Whether it's money, skills, or habits, compounding is the silent force that builds empires. Ignore it, and you'll always feel behind. Embrace it, and you'll look back one day shocked at how far you've come. Next was the rule of leverage. Wealthy people don't just work harder, they work smarter. They use tools, people, capital, and media to multiply their impact. Without leverage, your growth will always be limited by your time. With leverage, your growth becomes limitless. After that, we explored the rule of money as a tool, not a goal. This is where many people get lost. They think money is the finish line, but money is not the end. It's the vehicle. It's not the purpose. It's the resource. The real goal is freedom, impact, and purpose. Money just helps you get there. Then came the rule of systems over hustle. Hustle can get you started, but only systems can sustain you. If your income depends on you working 24/7, you don't own a business, you own a job. Systems are what give you freedom. Systems are what allow you to step back while your wealth keeps growing. And finally, the rule of inner wealth over outer wealth. Because what good is all the money in the world if you lose your peace, your health, your relationships, or yourself in the process? Outer wealth makes life comfortable. Inner wealth makes life meaningful. And the richest people are the ones who have both. So, what does all this mean for you? It means that becoming rich is not about chasing the next quick scheme or getting lucky. It's about living by principles. It's about applying these rules consistently, patiently, and intentionally. And here's the most important part. You don't have to wait until you're wealthy to start practicing these rules. You can start right now. You can start creating value today. You can start compounding your skills today. You can start using leverage today. You can start seeing money as a tool today. You can start building systems today. And you can start prioritizing inner wealth today. If you do, then not only will you build financial success, you'll build a life of freedom, purpose, and fulfillment. Because at the end of the day, money comes and goes, markets rise and fall, opportunities appear and disappear. But the person you become, the value you create, and the principles you live by, those are untouchable. So here's my challenge to you. Don't just listen to these 6 rules, live them, apply them, let them shape your decisions, your habits, and your vision. Because one day, you'll look back and realize these rules didn't just make you rich in money, they made you rich in life. That's the ultimate wealth.